Sunrise on a summer morning in La Bahia de Cadiz Natural Park. This protected area has several ecosystems such as the marsh, the coast, the pine forest, and estuaries. Although it was not always protected, if certain eagle-worshipping politician, not exactly the fisher eagle known as Osprey, who lives here in winter, that he, with his policy of desiccations of wetlands and real estate speculation, almost destroyed the area during the 20th century. The space was created in historical times by sedimentary action of the Guadalete River and the tides that accumulated sediment deposits, generating a space known today as a sanctuary for migratory and sedentary birds. The estuary was a place where the historical exploitation of salt was used, now converted into artificial marshes. Once again, it is demonstrated that if a will is placed, the human being can carry out his economic activity without damaging the ecosystem and contradicting the certain world leader of rude rhetoric, diet, and hairstyle more than questionable. The location of the park, just over 100 kilometers from the Strait of Gibraltar, makes it in a bird feeding area that crosses or comes from the African continent. As you can see in this moment of this sunrise on summer. One of the ecosystems is the pine wood undergrowth, where numerous species of passerines live, such as the sparrow, a species linked to human life, in decline due to human expansion and its stupidity to continuing using fossil fuels instead of renewable energies. On this summer day, we can see them in the branches where they nest several times a year, looking for insects, their menu in the summer. This forest, which was not able to be completely burned by the troops of the Gallic and short dictator with large dose of megalomania, and that produced a serious inconvenience for years to the inhabitants of the other European regions. This is one of the few samples of pine forest that reach us in the area. Sparrows live with blackbirds, pigeons, and doves. However, the lady of this undergrowth is a corvid, the magpie, known for her love of stealing bright objects. Very common in these areas and very beneficial when consuming mice and other harmful rodent species in her diet. Not as determined rollers. With the magpie and survivor of other time, it is possible to see the elusive red partridge that in summer its chickens have raised the flight and in whose paths we can find searching seeds. Leaving the undergrowth and headed to the coast at the end of the mouth of the Rio San Pedro, we can find oyster catchers colonies, whose names already indicates their diet based on mollusks that appear when the tide falls, and their black and strong color are very characteristic red beaks to break the powerful shell of the oysters, very abundant in this area through the year. However, this area is also a place for the establishment of seagulls and terns, such as the black-head gull, whose black head in summer already turns whiter after the wedding season, in which it is shown darkly. At this time, we are looking for mollusks and aquatic worms. Already returning from his summer becoming more abundant from August, we can find a beautiful specimen of ruddy turnstone, whose beautiful plumage differentiated from the rest of the waders, whose ability consists in finding those mollusks and crustaceans that hide in the stones after a quick tidal surge, a singular species without a doubt. Leaving the coastal area, where the always elusive little tern also nest, we find another species that nests in spring and whose proliferation, if have not been controlled, would have been a chaos. The seagull arcs, whose omnivorous voracity leads him to consume almost everything, and carrion, makes him a regular throughout the year on the coast and the marshes. These scavenging customs would also apply to the worshipper of the other types of seagulls and who do not do nothing for the environment. Now we will take about the marshland and estuaries, fish and mollusks refreshment areas of mosquito and migratory species such as the stork. This species nests in the marsh and in autumn flies to Africa to spend winter, very common in spring and summer through these wetlands. We can see one of the most important species is in this place, the black-winged stilt, that lives here and nests in this part of this sanctuary. Have a look, because this is one of the most important opportunities we had in that moment to be recorded. Living together in the nest colonies of the seagulls, one of the most abundant species here in this natural park, close to the urban zones and industries zones. This has a situation of protection. Similar situation is for the red flamingo, which returns to the African continent at the same time, although his nesting area is located more than 200 kilometers in Laguna de Fuente de Piedra. Flamingo often travels more than 400 kilometers in a day to feed its chicks, and they come to the estuaries rich in fish species. On the banks of San Pedro River, which is nothing more than a memory of the old arm of the sea, we can see a lot of species, and this is one of them. The flamingo feeds off a small crustacean called Artemia. Artemia is close to an alien species, not from this world. We can see here feeding in this part of the estuary, remaining that this is a good place to stay on summer and winter and a good place to feed. The marshland is the most important part of this ecosystem. The curlew with its huge curved beak guarantees the achievement of mollusks and aquatic species difficult to catch. However, other species, as the dunglings, neighbor of the other species, neighbor of the curlew, the most common is the brown, and the other one, the whitest, is the tridactyl, run and flies at a high speed to capture the species. Another species nest in the area, neighbor of the other two species before talked and described, is the Kentish plover, characterized by its black mask and its quick way of running around. Here we can see running over the sand, the shore. This species nests on the beach near to the little stair. Since they are born, they already run around their parents in search of food. It is clear that it's a form of coexistence between two species of different habits in the same ecosystem, something that should take in account the seagull worshippers mentioned above and the worshipper of the bars and stars. This is one of the most beautiful examples of convivence between several different species in a small place, close to the urban zones. 3 species in the same shore, sharing the feed. Finally, in summer, although it is not the most abundant of birds, we can find a common inhabitant of the marsh in search of insects. Before raising his flag to Africa, we refer to the common egret, whose white plumage serves to dismiss us this bird-watching episode in the Bahia De Cadiz Natural Park. We invite you to following us in Facebook and to visit us in our website.